Hi, my name is Rob Skeoch from Sony of Canada. I'm here today interviewing Matthew Jordan Smith, celebrity photographer from Los Angeles. He's been using the Sony A900 for the last few years, and he's got a full array of the Zeiss lenses that work with the Alpha system. Let's take a look at some of his celebrity shots and hear how he did them. These first shot, Matthews, why don't you tell us a bit about how they're done? It's Aretha Franklin.
So this is icon Aretha Franklin. I just shot her latest album cover, which is coming out any day now, hopefully. It's shot with the Sony A900. I guess my two favorite lenses would be the 85 and the 100 macro. And every now I use other lenses as well, but those two are my workhorse lenses that I use most of the time. And these shots were shot with the 100 macro. Actually, I went back and forth from the 100 macro to the 85, and it was an amazing day. You know, it's Aretha Franklin, so you can't go wrong. Right.
Now, with someone like this, for a CD or an album cover, how long do you have to work with her? Like, do you get more time than a normal entertainment shoot, or are you there all day? How long did you get with her?
Well, I've been shooting her for like the last 5 years, so I had her all day. Actually, this shoot was all day, all night, actually, because we shot in studio all day. Then we took a break for like an hour and a half, and then we met up again at night, and we shot in Times Square at night. So it was a long day shoot for this as well, but it was a fantastic day as well.
Right. And now, how long have you been using the full frames from Sony?
Last 3 years now.
Okay, and then as you're saying now the 85, I can see the 85 Zeiss is a wonderful lens. I'm surprised with the 100 macro though. You're using that for portraits just because of that distance?
Actually, it's the perfect beauty lens. I do a lot of beauty work and, well, close-up of beauty work, and it's just the perfect lens. That 100 macro is a great length. I can do tight shots, even tighter than shots here of Aretha Franklin. I can go in and get just her mouth singing if I want to, or just her eye. It's an amazing lens.
Right. Wow. I never would have thought of that. That's so great. And now, when would you decide that you were going to go with the 85 then?
Well, the 85 is more like my portrait lens.
Okay.
The lenses, the shots here of Aretha, these are the 85. But I'll also go in tighter and do versions where I'll shoot. This is my normal lens, basically my 85.
Yep.
And then I'll go in tighter and I use the 100 macro and get just her face and come in closer than what you see here.
Now, when you're shooting something like this, how many people are on your crew? Like, how big is your operation with assistants and makeup and all that?
Oh wow, it can get pretty intense at times. Usually like 12 to 15 people. Basically.
Wow.
You have the assistants, which is usually 2 or 3. Then you have hair and makeup, so those guys have an assistant. You have the client. You could be an art director, an art buyer. Then you have the various other people around. So you can get like 12 to 15 people is like the norm.
Right. And now, is the art designer right there looking at a monitor, or are they looking occasionally at the camera, at the screen at the back, or how does that part of it work?
Well, these days they're doing a little bit of everything. They're looking at a monitor, they're looking at an iPad. Sometimes they're just like not looking at anything, trusting me with a vision, which I like better actually, like shooting film in the old days. So I'm using a variety of lenses here. I'm using the 24-70. I'm using, of course, my 85. I'm using my 100 macro. Use a little bit of everything on this one. Maybe even use the 50 on this one. I'm not sure, but I don't use the 50 that much. I use the 35 a lot because the 35 is more my normal wide lens basically. So I use the 35. I use the 24-70. I use the 85 and the 100. Those 4 lenses are my go-to lenses. Okay, so when would you decide, if you have the 24-70, it gives you all the zoom range, when would you decide, well, I'm going to shoot with the 35 mil then? Because you've already got the 35 focal length covered in the zoom. Like what's your thinking process that I'm going to switch from the zoom that covers 35 to a prime 35? The primes are always, I'm old school in that way. Primes are always sharper.
Okay.
So I tend to go with the primes more than the zooms. Even though the zooms have come a long way these days, I still prefer my prime sometimes.
And what about the actual the f-stop? you know, the 85 is a 1.4, the 35 is a 1.4. Are you shooting wide open much that you need that 1.4, or are things basically strobed and you know you're at 5.6 or 8 or whatever anyways?
I actually do shoot fairly wide open quite a bit, so I like to have the speed of the lens. A lot of my beauty work is shot sometimes wide open because the beauty of seeing that, if you're focused on just the eyes, everything else goes out of focus and it looks like an old-fashioned painting. It's
Right.
beautiful. It also gives you this subliminal softening of the skin. So if you have a subject who does not have great skin, if you shoot
Oh, yeah.
wide open and focus on just their eyes, you get this beautiful, beautiful skin texture.
Makes sense. Now I'm surprised that you haven't mentioned the 135 much. The Zeiss version of it, you know, nice and fast for sure at 1.8. But is that working distance too great now for a 135 on the full frame?
It is at times. I just did an assignment last week. We shot a jewelry assignment on the beach, and I used it there last week actually. I don't use it a lot, but
Right.
I used it last week on the beach to shoot, and loved it quite a bit. As a matter of fact, we were retouching all those images yesterday to go to the client today, and that was shot with the 135 and quite a bit actually. The 135 we shot on that shoot, the 85. Actually, I think it was like the 85 and 135 last week on the entire shoot.
Sorry, besides the work that you're doing, then you've done a series of videos that people can purchase about some of your, not secrets, but tips of the trade and how you're working. They can
Absolutely.
download those from your website.
That's correct. And actually, it is a lot of my secrets as well. I don't believe that you should hold on to secrets. So it's a lot of the secrets, it's a lot of lighting tips, it's a lot of inspiration as well.
Right. Okay. Now something like this shot done with one light,
Intensive lighting.
is it an on-camera strobe or on-camera strobe that's taken off of the wire, or is it an actual plug-in-the-wall studio strobe?
It's a plug-in-the-wall studio strobe. I use ProPhoto a lot. Actually, I've been using ProPhoto for like the last 20 years.
Right.
And those are my light sources that I use with different light shaping tools. But I use a lot of different things. I use strobe, I use daylight, and even in the videos you'll see there's 10 ways to use one light source. There's one on using complex lighting. There's one on using 10 ways to use natural light, which is also very important.
Right.
To know how to see light. So it runs the gamut.
Now, what photographers' work have you admired and looked at over the years, saying, "Wow, I love the way they do it. They were cutting edge. I really like what they've been able to do."
Well, the first photographer that inspired me, believe it or not, was Ansel Adams. I fell in love with his black and white, and I still love it. If I see a show of his work, I'll still go see it. I loved his work in the very beginning, and it probably pulled me into photography a lot by seeing his work.
Yep.
In terms of fashion photographers that I grew up admiring, I'd say Irving Penn and Avedon, Dick Avedon were my favorites.
Yep. For
in the
sure.
early days. Then now, photographer that I really like a lot, or two that I like a lot, are Annie Leibovitz, of course,
Yep.
and Stephen Meisel. Those two are, I guess, my two favorites these days.
Right. Very interesting. Well, when I was in college years and years ago, Avedon's show was in Toronto, and he had a picture of John Lennon that I just thought was outstanding. I mean, I loved his work forever, and his fashion work and his portrait work was all brilliant. But this John Lennon shot was spectacular. And
I've seen that shot.
Yeah, and Irvin Penn, I got to go to the Morgan Library in New York City where he was having his probably the most recent show till he passed away. But tremendous photographers, and so great to see the original prints.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing like seeing a real print. Nothing like it at all. So I love going to shows to see work like that.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm not going to take any more of your time. I appreciate it. I think everything is working technically.
One thing I would like to say is, like, even the Twitter. I give out daily tips on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is Matthew_Jordan S on Twitter.
Okay.
I always try to give tips every day about photography on that. So if you want daily tips, you can go there, or even to my blog where I give a little more. And the blog is MatthewJordansmith.blogspot.com.